Well, welcome to a new Harry's Garage video, and as you can tell, I've joined forces with Silverstone Auctions to come down to do a preview of their big sale of the year, the Classic Sale at Silverstone. This big sale they held every year during the weekend of the Classic at Silverstone. Now, there are an awful lot of cars to get through. This is setup day, this is Wednesday. The sale starts on Friday with the motorbikes, and then there's cars and automobile on the Saturday and the Sunday. I'll go through times in a moment. But in all, I think there's over 200 lots here this year, and some really mega lots, I think, in there, and quite a nice mix. There's some cars that have been enhanced by their owners over the years for, shall we say, fast road use. So there's the absolutely original cars, but also these ones, if you're out for doing driving or events, really nice examples of those. There's also some race cars around as well, some really famous race cars. So much to get through. There's some outside as well. It's been pouring with rain, so we're not going to start there, but I think we ought to get going. Dash downstairs. An owner, quite a well-known owner, has put several cars in, and I'm going to start there first. Well, let's start with this Lotus Sport 350. Super rare car, these. They only made 49 in total, and they did a whole load of modifications on this car to lift it above the make it the ultimate sporting V8 Esprit. 1999, it dates from flat plane crank, 350 horsepower, these cars, and 85 kilos lighter than the regular V8 Esprit at the time. Recognisable by a very distinctive rear wing, this carbon rear wing on it, and the blue Alcantara and black leather inside. Reminds me of the interior I had on my Lotus 340R, exactly the same sort of trim, and this sort of carbon fibre trim over the dash, etc. All Richard's cars are, and bikes, are no reserves. There's no guide on this, but I remember him phoning me. He was so excited when he found this car. It was a perfect example, and because they're so rare, very unusual to find one for sale. So if you're after a 350 Sport, I know that's a good one. I know why he's selling it. He's starting up a new TV program, and he's having to invest quite heavily because he's actually, it's the smallest cog it's called, and he's going to be restoring his own cars. So he's setting up a whole business that he's then going to be filming, going to be on the TV screens, etc. In a few months' time. So lovely Sport 350. Le Mans, Moto Guzzi 850 Le Mans. This is a Mark 1 version, the collectible one, but unusual for typical Richard Hammond. This one has this fairing, period fairing with the twin headlights. Rare, I've not seen one before. He had the motor rebuilt on it, again with no reserve, highly collectible. I like Moto Guzzi. They've got a celebration this year, and a very nice example to see the Mark 1. Mark 2s are more common, but Mark 1 is really nice. Then you've got a great big Bentley. I have to get my model right. This is a Bentley, 1959 Bentley S2. Richard's always liked cars he can move the family around in. He has a big family, and so he collects these sort of cars. I like the Shadow more, but this is his taste, and he's rocked around the family this. It's perfectly serviceable, great big Bentley S2 if you want it. A very early motorbike, which I don't understand why he owns. They don't appeal to me. They're petrol and oil there. You pump them up to get them going. Horn like that. Very crude, no rear suspension, etc. All the Norton. This is a limited run model that he got for his 50th birthday, and this is number 50 of just the 50 they produced. Rather than the clip-on bars, he went for the high-rise bars, etc. It's got two sorts of exhausts, these little shorties here. It's got a road legal exhaust as well, but it sounds much better with that exhaust. Hardly any miles, 121 miles for that car. I don't know if you want to just nip round a corner. There's another old antique thing here that I don't understand at all, but this Kawasaki Z1, this was a hero bike back when I was growing up. 1976, this example, and I remember at his 40th, suddenly the sheet came off, and there it was. He got it for his 40th birthday. Done several miles on it actually. A really nice, been restored example there. Now, I think this is a very nice one. He's looked long and hard to find an early 911. Bought it in California, 1970 this example, the 2.2. this one rather than the 2 litre 911T. Utterly perfect. I'm really surprised he's getting rid of him. I was teasing him this morning, why are you selling this? He said, I don't know, they all went yesterday and I'm now thinking, why have I done this? Anyway, a nice little collection of cars and bikes. He's coming along on Sunday. He's going to be filming these cars being sold for this new TV programme. So if you want to see Richard in action, come along to sale on Sunday. Right, I'm going to go through to this hall where there's a load more stuff to have a look at. I can't believe you come round the corner here, these 2 ultimate bikes. Even if you're not into bikes, this MV Agusta here, without the fairing, you actually see the Sandcast engine all on show, and these very distinctive megaphones on here with the curve, so Italian, so stylish, and it's just propped up against the wall. And then you've got this. Now this is a Vincent Black Lightning, ultra rare. Looking at the details, they only actually made 31 Black Lightnings and only 19 are known to exist. This isn't a real one, this is a replica recently built up. It's unregistered, but they have the most beautiful instruments on it I think I've ever seen. But in 1948, absolute hooligan bike, and yet how old is it now? It's sort of 70 years old, but magnificent to see it there. That's in a sale. It's actually guided, even though it's a replica, at 70 to 90,000 pounds. For half the price, you could have this TVR. Now, I saw this one online, well worth checking out Silverstone's auctions, because there's much more detail on each individual car online, and it photographs really well. It's slightly patchy when I get close to it, but boy, has it had a bit of a history, this car. This one competed in mod sports 1970 to 73 when it achieved 24 wins and 61 podiums. That's not bad going for just 3 years of competition. It is a factory built lightweight TVR Tuscan V6, so a 3 litre one. And at the end of the, I can't exactly remember the dates, so I don't have them written here, but in 73 or 74, it dropped a valve on the engine, they took it out, and then it stood there unrepaired for 28 years. And around 2015, a TVR aficionado spotted it, bought it, has rebuilt the engine, kept it authentic all round, so slightly scabby paint, etc. But it's ultra lightweight, he's been to a few events for it, it's road registered, and I think at 35 to 40,000, there's a lot of fun to be had with that TVR. Now, I just wanted to show you this one, 997 Gen 1 Turbo. This one dates from 2006, but I think it's quite interesting, the Gen 1 of these, because they had the 3.6 Metzler engine that was also in the 996 Turbo before they went to the next generation of engine. And they're the bulletproof engines, folklore says. And this one also has the manual gearbox, 22,000 miles, and guided at 54 to 64,000 pounds. Another one I think is starting to look good value, and that's the Ferrari 599 GTB. Now, they were a monster that leap up in performance compared to the Ferrari 575 that was previous generation. CCM brakes on it as well. This is quite an unusual spec, this one. It's dark, it's black metallic, but it's got this mix of Magnolia and Nero hide, but it's also got the sports seat. So this is the Recaro carbon-backed seat. So a nice option to have. 24,000 miles, and it's guided at 90 to 105,000 pounds. Service book shows 12 services as well in there. So yeah, a nice example, and I think they're sitting quite comfortably at 95,000 pounds or thereabouts. Also, there's if you wanted a 456, bright red, black interior, but it does have a manual gearbox, but left-hand drive only, and a couple of 328s as well with the Targa top. There's so much stuff to get through, I don't know where to go. I mean, there's some quite nice race Jaguars here, if you're into them. Callum Lockie has done really well in that 120, that first one. It's aluminium body, it didn't leave the factory as aluminium body, it was rebuilt with an aluminium body. The 120 Speedster has quite a good history, or an XKSS replica as well. This D-type replica is quite nice. It sort of has a patina because it wasn't particularly well built back in 1976, but it actually, I quite like the idea that it looks, you're not quite sure, it looks very aged, shall we say, and it's guided at 35 to 40,000 pounds, still got a straight six, still on open triple Webers and that sort of thing. So yeah, a lot of fun to be had. Now the car sale on the Saturday is for the competition cars as well as some road cars as well. And there's a couple of competition cars I just had to show you, starting off with this Rover SDI. Now this is a very famous car. Andy Rouse campaigned it in the British Touring Car Championship, and I think it was in 1984. And with him driving, it won 7 out of the 11 rounds that year and won the championship. This very car, when you look inside, it's still got a sort of wood trim on the doors and that sort of thing. Yes, it's stripped out, there's only the driver's seat in there, but what a piece of history. It's got straight single bolt wheels on it. I'm sure it would be invited straight down to Goodwood and all the rest of it down there. It's guided at 140 to 170,000 pounds. I've seen lots of replicas of these cars, but this is the real deal, the winning championship car from 1984. Then there's this very unusual Porsche, 3-litre Porsche in Rothman colours, rally car. And if I look at this car, it has an interesting history as well, because it was actually converted to rally car in 1984. So the actual car is 1976, and then it was transformed into rally car and campaigned quite regularly in Europe. And they've spotted quite a few sort of works parts on it. There's a bag tank for it out down there, there's some extra wheels for it, that sort of thing. They think the rear trailing arms and torsion arms are works items from Porsche. And it's had recently been repainted and sort of had a proper rebuild, but these stripes are actually painted. These are not transfers, this is actual real paint. That's a transfer there, but a super smart car. I love the light box on the front of it, and it is 60 to 70,000 pounds. Don't know, it's quite an interesting car. Right, there's a few more road cars down here I want to show you. Right, I just wanted to point this Jaguar XJS out. Now this is a pre-HE, so 1979. What makes it particularly unusual is the mileage, 9,500 miles from new. It's on sale on Sunday and guided at 30 to 35,000 pounds. There's another V12 Jaguar I wanted to show you here as well. Now this one, obviously E-Type. Now what makes this one unusual? 1972. It's a convertible and it has the hardtop with it, quite rare, with body colour this silver. But this car is fully restored, and I've not really seen one quite like this before. And I looked inside. First of all, it's got a 5-speed gearbox in it now, rather than the 4-speed manual that he put in it, all auto. And then it's got injection engine as well. So it looks utterly standard under the bonnet, but it is from the later injected model rather than the carburetors that weren't too good. So I have a fair bit more horsepower, I would imagine, for that. And it's got better brakes on it, and they've just genuinely enhanced. And it's one of these sort of enhanced cars that as we go round, this is a particularly fine one. Looks the part, I have to say. But with all that work, it is more expensive. It's 110 to 130,000 pounds. Then I'd love this as well, Lotus Cortina Mark 1. Who doesn't love this? It came out as a, left the factory as a proper one. It did a lot of rallies, but it was reshelled with a 1963 correct GT shell. But it looks original and utterly wonderful, and because it's had a reshell and it's perfect, ridiculously, it's less money. It's 45 to 55,000. But it actually left the factory as a Lotus Cortina and then was campaigned on a lot of rallies back in period. Another crazy expensive Ford Escort RS 1600, the BDA, the holy grail of the Escort world. You used to get, with this engine, this is a pure race engine, it was in Formula and that sort of thing. To put it in an Escort was unheard of. Weirdly, the BDA was sort of detuned around 100 horsepower. This one's been slightly tweaked to 125 horsepower, it says here. Fully detailed, ground-up restoration, and estimated at 65 to 75,000 pounds. There's a completely different car over there. I just have to open the doors and show you this Rolls-Royce over here. I cannot get over the size of these Rolls-Royce Silver Clouds, 1963. What an imposing sort of frontal area. What an impression you must make if you rock up in one of these. Interior's all been retrimmed. I'm going to have a look at that in a moment. I just want to show you how much work has been done on this car. It's beautifully, it's been restored recently, but even I've never seen, has a lamb's wool for your boots. And then inside I open a door. I've never seen inlay on a door like that on this Rolls-Royce. And if this car is for you, then you want to bid on the Sunday and 80 to 90,000 pounds will buy it. Right, let's have a look at a few more cars down here. Right, I wanted to show you this car. This is the little Fiat Dino Spider, 1968. And what was so famous about this car, this had the Ferrari Dino engine, the little V6 engine, 2-litre form. And they did a coupe and a Spider version. And to me, the Spider always looked the more elegant of them. This one, it arrived in the UK, I think it was 1979, yeah, 1979, lived in the UK for quite a while, but has recently gone through a full restoration. So back to metal, respray, and the engine was rebuilt as well. It's that little aluminium engine, 2-litre as standard. During the rebuild, they decided to make it the 2.4 litre, which is quite normal that you have 2.4 litre in your Dino 246, etc. And so this car's been gone right through. Nice colour combination, guided at 85 to 100,000 pounds. They've really been on the move, this car, but they're just a really nice, usable Italian classic, and you just can't believe it's a Fiat. Now, I always point out Elan's. This is a very nice fast road type Elan. What would look slightly unusual, hasn't got the pop-up lights. This is what the racers did. They did the flared in little feature like this, and it was to lightweight and more streamlined. But this has got, it's 26R it was called, the race Elan. It was type 26 and the R stood for racing. So this has had a 26R front end put on it and the lights, tweaked engine. I mean, it's a steel engine on this, rated 168 horsepower. That's about as good as it gets on a 1600 Elan engine. To buy that engine would be 10 to 15,000 pounds. Because it's got this slight bit of modification, a bit of deeper front spoiler there. I'm just trying to see what's around the back here. Slightly wider rear arch as well. Interior looks more or less standard, but it's got a trip meter in it as well. Standard seats, all normal trimming. It's less money than that super shiny Elan over there. There's two Elans here, Sprint ones. You're paying 45,000 pounds for those. But if you want this hot one breathed on and do some hill climbs or whatever you want to do with it, well, you're paying 28 to 32,000. But to build that engine, well over 10,000 pounds for an all steel twin cam engine. So that's why I'm pointing this one out. It's so special, the engine on this Elan, that they've actually locked it away. Rather than opening on a normal sort of pull from the cabin, you actually have to do this and open it with a key. And that unveils the all-steel twin-cam engine underneath, probably breathing 45 through 45 Webers and the aluminium radiator as well. Really quite like that engine. Obviously the bikes from Friday, they're more and more arriving as we're doing this video, but there's a lovely little collection here. Two Mike Halewood replicas, these two Ducatis here, 81 and 83. They are, as I say, replicas and therefore affordable at sort of 16, 17,000 pounds for there. And then a bike I know really well, the Kawasaki H2. This is a H2BC, which means it's one of the very last, 1974 this one, in the much sought after purple colour. I love that colour. It's the very last, the C was the last one. But then you've got these two Jaguars here. Now, I wouldn't normally feature this one, but this XK120, I like the way it's described as a fast road car. It's been rebuilt. It came in, it's a California car that's come into this country a few years ago, converted to right-hand drive, and then just enhanced. So they've put a bigger engine in it, the 3.4 engine I think this has got in it, XK150 engine fitted, fully rebuilt. And they put disc brakes front and rear on it, new servo, aluminium radiator. Just lovely looking car. completely gone through, and because it's not standard, again, it's not guided at too much money. It's guided at 80 to 100,000 pounds for a fully rebuilt. You just cannot do it for that sort of money. So I admire the person who ever did this, and he's made it a very usable car. If that's what you've always wanted an XK120 to do rallies on, there you are, a lovely example. Then this one, this E-Type, again, really unusual car. This one is being modified for fast road specifications, as it's termed, and it has these distinctive stripes of Briggs Cunningham, who used to race at Santa Pod. This was his colours he used to use, of these very distinctive blue stripes. Quite a lot of work has been done on this one. They've upgraded, I think, on brakes and the engine, etc. Really looks the part, but because, again, it's modified, it's only guided at 50 to 60,000 pounds. And it's a Series 1 E-Type, all beautifully prepared. Right, if you've always wanted a one-owner Aston Martin from 1972, the V8 version, well, here you are. Unfortunately, it has sat in a garage, I think, for 25 years, sort of unattended. Dry storage, as they term it. It needs more than Richard Tipper going over it from perfection and making it absolutely perfect. But it's all together, but one owner from new is the very unusual bit with this one. Guided at 30 to 35,000 if you fancy that car and going through the rebuild with it. Or you could have this Porsche 356, which sat in a barn even longer. I think it says, yeah, 44 years in dry storage, that one. Lots of work to be done on this one, and guided at 20 to 25,000 pounds. But I just wanted to show you this one. This is quite an unusual Porsche 930, 1979, the turbo version. It's the first lot of the day. And you look at it and I can just see some differences with it. It's got rough wheels on it. The German's tuner, really very distinctive wheels, suit it obviously, but it's guided, it has no reserve, this car, and it's just had a full engine rebuild, mechanical rebuild on it. There's invoices for £28,000 on file. Right-hand drive, originally owned by the person who did Kicker shoes, if you remember those from the 70s. He bought a Porsche Turbo out of the proceeds. But lot one, no reserve, 930 Turbo. We're coming outside because the weather's improved. Unfortunately, there's a bike track day going on as well. So if you can hear someone in the background, apologies for that. But there's cars arriving all the time, and there's several I want to show you outside. This is a 40-mile Mini, yes, 40 miles from new, Mini Cooper, John Cooper Special. But the two cars I wanted to show you were actually here. This first one, AC Cobra. And you're thinking just a regular AC Cobra. No, it isn't. This one dates from 2000, because this is a carbon fibre bodied, made by AC. So there was a company that bought the name, were making them, I think, in South Africa, and Brooklands. I went down to Brooklands to drive the press car. This is one of two cars like this, carbon fibre bodied, with the Lotus V8 engine in it. It was a wild thing, and it was the reinvention of AC Cobra. I've never seen one with this hardtop before as well, matched it. But yeah, a thorough sort of modern take on the AC Cobra, reimagining year 2000. This one is guided at 85 to 100,000 pounds, and at the time was the fastest accelerating car to 100 miles an hour. It doesn't actually tell me in the catalogue what speed it did to 100 miles an hour, but it was the fastest accelerating. I can tell you, having driven one back in period, it was utterly wild. Twin turbo V8, remember that Lotus, wheel spin in any gear you fancied, and with a carbon fibre body. But the car I really wanted to show you was this Maserati. Now, this is a real rarity, and a friend owned one of these and he absolutely adored it, and I drove it a few times as well. So this is a bi-turbo era Maserati, badge 222 4-valve, because this was the introduction of the 4-valve head V6 litre engine. Before we got the Maserati Ghibli in the 90s, this one came first. And I think they're really wonderful cars because it's got the more modern drivetrain in the older body. You could call it a sleeper. And boy, it was a quick car. This is a manual gearbox one as well. I've just seen if it says actually how fast it was. No, it doesn't. It's 280 horsepower, but they were sort of 160 mile an hour cars. And this one is only guided at 14 to 18,000 pounds. I don't need another Maserati, but I really quite like that one. Just wanted to show these two fantastic examples of Americana gone mad. So yeah, Dodge Viper. What gets me about this one is it's 2015. I didn't realise it had gone on and on. I remember it in the noughties, shall we say, the Dodge Viper over here with Chrysler, but no, the special edition, etc. going on. And this car, 2015, this is a Time Attack Viper, 645 horsepower and 600 pound-foot of torque from the V10, normally aspirated V10, manual gearbox. I went over to Le Mans in one of these, did a feature for Evo with Justin Bell. He had a coupe. I have to say it was a much better car than I was expecting in coupe form. Really quite enjoyed it. If you can live with the colour, well, 645 horsepower V10, normally aspirated, you can buy this car as guided at 70 to 80,000 pounds. But if you want real horsepower, well, have a look at this one. It has a long name, but it's worth getting right. It's the Dodge Challenger SRT Demon Hellcat. And this one boasts 840 horsepower and 717 foot-pound of torque from its 6.2 litre supercharged engine. This is basically a drag car for the street. A production car came through Clive Sutton in London. He imported it, and all it is to get air to feed this crazy engine. Great big unprotected scoop here, aluminium radiator I can see here. Those aren't headlights, they're actually air intakes, those headlights at the side there. A wild thing that just smokes its tyres at every opportunity, but is designed to run really fast quarter-mile times. I haven't got a time listed here, but it's chuffing quick. It actually cost in 2018, bring it over here, £136,000. It's guided at 130 to 150,000 pounds if you want it today. And that one is on sale on the Saturday, lot 446. I was about to dive inside, but look what's just turned up. Now this is an 8C Spider, I think with 79 miles from new in it. But anyway, hopefully it'll be coming inside. It's so noisy out here, cameraman's complaining, it looks like it's going to rain, so let's go and dive inside. Now there's two Ferrari Testarossas in this sale. This is the first one, 1991 Ferrari Testarossa, resale red colour, magnolia inside. Red dash, which I'd never actually seen, but what makes this particularly unusual and liked by collectors, ultra low mileage. I think it's 1,100 miles from new, and guide in the corner is around £150,000 guide for that one. But what I want to show you is this Aston Martin here. Now this is the V8 Vantage Coupe, but with X-Pack, which is this ultimate version of the Vantage. Such a sort of bulldog car, 1990, one of the last cars produced, this one, and very unusual in black metallic and black interior, manual gearbox obviously. I don't know, there's something about this car. If you want this car, it's a poster car for my generation, the Aston Martin Vantage, and I think it looks spectacular in this colour. Right-hand drive, one of 95 produced I see with the X-Pack, but only two right-hand drive examples in this black, but guided 340 to 380,000 pounds. So an expensive car because we all love them. I saw this car on the sale. I thought it was a replica or something, but no, it's a genuine Alfa Romeo from 1952, an Alfa 1900 ATO Barchetta. Such a pretty thing. It's had an engine change in period in the 60s to the 100 horsepower 1900 Ti, But yeah, a really lovely thing. It's coming from Italy. It's got the ACI club badge on it there, but it's been with a collector near Lake Como for a number of years. And if you want it, well, it's guided at 150 to 180,000 pounds. Super lightweight, Mille Miglia written all over it. Now this Porsche caught my eye, this 911. This is a 1974 2.7 California car that then came over to the UK in 2017, and he's turned it into a bit of an outlaw sort of car. The engine's been fully rebuilt on it, and it had a lot of work on it. Being from California, no rust was found, and then it's been painted in a very fashionable crayon, this colour, and I just think it's been done really well. And with a 2.7 rebuilt engine, it sounds the part apparently. Really nice interior. They've retrimmed the seats, nice Momo wheel on it, but it's guided at 45 to 50,000 pounds, and I don't know, I just think that's a very nice car to have. But I just want to show you a couple over here. Just want to show you this Jaguar XJ220, because what's unusual with this car, one, in this colour, this black metallic colour with a black interior, and two, it's right-hand drive. There was 281 XJ220s produced in all, only 84 were in right-hand drive, and I think in this black colour, it's super rare. Just 4 cars exist in this colour. 9,600 miles from new, this example. Been down to Dom Law, who sort of looks after most of the XJ220s in the UK. They are, if you ever look at an XJ220 under the skin, they are beautifully built. I couldn't get over, you take the body off and see how the suspension's done, the rear suspension, it's Pagani-esque. I can't get over how lovely it is. It's less good on the interior because they use the Jaguar instruments, etc. But it's still an incredible statement of a car, 1995, so 25 years old now. And this one, guided as, it's not understandable that sort of mileage, 340 to 380,000 pounds. Now this is the other Testarossa in this sale. What's unusual with this one, right-hand drive, 36,000 miles from new. So a used Testarossa, right colours, magnolia, looks pretty fresh actually inside, and guided at 95 to 115,000 pounds, and recently serviced. And then I just wanted to show you this Porsche 997 Carrera GTS convertible. This is a step down on drivetrain transmission from the GT3. This is in a more relaxed version of it, but with convertible. This sort of last of the line, colour back seats on it. This car, one owner from new, 1,160 miles, so basically a new car, guided at 60 to 70,000 pounds. I can see that one holding its money really quite well in the future. Now there's several rare Porsches in this sale, and let's start off with this one. This is a Porsche 993 3.8 RS Air Carrera Cup. Now they made 45 of these cars for endurance racing mainly, but this is a road registered one, and I can't believe it's in the sale. Beautifully done in sort of Grand Prix white, completely stripped out interior, but yeah, usable, although there's a great big fire extinguisher in the passenger footwell. Super rare, never been raced, never been tracked or whatever, just in a private collection. 14,000 kilometres he's done on it, but guided at 580 to 650,000 pounds. Right, next we have this Porsche 997, the GT2 RS, this ultra limited run model at the end of the 997 GT2 run. One of 16 in the UK. 611 horsepower, but 205 miles an hour, the fastest accelerating 997 of them all. And what's interesting here, I think it's the most powerful manual gearbox 911 you can get. Beautiful condition, this one, right-hand drive obviously. I think it's 2,000 miles from new, and guided at 300 to 350,000 pounds for basically what looks like a new car to me. Now, I've never quite seen a Ur-Quattro like this one. This is a 1991 car, 10,000 miles from new and just 2 owners, and just spectacular. There's a letter on file apparently from Audi UK saying it was the last car to enter the UK, and it is in showroom condition, as you'd imagine. If you're a collector of Ur-Quattro, look at this one. So 2 owners. I think the first owner had it 17 years. and then the second owner owned it for 13 years. Yeah, quite a remarkable car, but guided accordingly, 75 to 95,000 pounds for that. And then another ultra low mileage car, this 911 2.7 RS, 1973 touring spec. Now the first owner of this car lived in Hong Kong and then moved to Australia and took his car with him. So he owned it for 34 years, the first owner. It was then spotted, it went through a couple more sales and came back to the UK, I think in 2015, this car. But it's 12,500 miles from new. The condition is utterly perfect. They can't quite warrant the mileage in that early years. The history doesn't quite exist, but it's still beautifully looked, and every expert's looked around it and they're absolutely sure the mileage is correct. It is 12,500 miles and it's guided at 700 to 800,000 pounds. But look at it. Okay, now we get to the most expensive Porsche in the sale, and it's this one, the 1993 Porsche 911 964 Turbo S Lifebau. So that's the lightweight version. I've just opened the doors, aluminium doors on it, thinner glass, more horsepower. They squeeze an extra 60 horsepower out of the 3.3 litre, 381 horsepower now for this one. Uber rare. Actually produced was one of 86 in total, one of 11 in the UK. A very red interior. It's worth just having a look at the interior, and even all the, I noticed the heater knobs, etc., have been covered in red leather as well. Full cage in it as well, but only 45 miles from new, delivery mileage, and not actually registered. If you want to buy it, well, you're going to have to pay between 950 and, is that really, 1.1 million pounds. So £1 million 911 there, but just because of its rarity and ultra low miles. No end of cars that I could have featured in here. There's that 8C's just appeared in there, quite a few Ford Escorts in the sale, lovely Mercedes SL55s, which you know is a top tip if you want to own it. If you want to have a look at more details, then check out the Silverstone Auctions website. All the info is there. 3-day sale, this one. So it kicks off on Friday the 30th of July with the motorbikes, Saturday Automobilia, and then the cars in the afternoon, mainly competition cars and road cars. And then on the Sunday, there's Richard Hammond's cars and mainly road cars as well. And if you do come down to Silverstone to see the classic at Silverstone is on this weekend, all sorts of racing, all sorts of going on, family fun fairs, clubs here, etc. I'm actually here on the Saturday with my Countach, leading a 50th year celebration of Countach on the Saturday. No end of information available on the website. If you do want to bid on the auction, then remember you have to register to bid. You can watch it live on YouTube, on Proxy Bid, etc. So hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have, keep watching, keep subscribing, more videos coming along very soon.